So, recently, Kylian Mbappe broke his nose, and now the Frenchman has to wear a mask to protect himself from further damage. Just like Mbappe, many iconic players have worn a mask in the past. Here are the 10 most iconic players to wear a mask in football history. In a 2015 Bundesliga match against his former club Borussia Dortmund, Robert Lewandowski suffered a fractured nose and jaw, leaving a lasting physical mark. Despite the injury, he wore a protective mask and continued to score goals, remaining a threat to opposing defenses. Talking of terrorizing defenses, the images of Victor Osimhen celebrating his goals by removing his protective mask will have been among the most memorable of the 2022-23 season. Napoli's Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen played a key role in their Serie A victory, scoring 26 league goals. His success came despite a serious injury from a collision with Milan Skriniar, which left him with multiple fractures to his eye socket and cheekbone. After undergoing a major operation and having metal screws inserted in his jaw, Osimhen returned to play, wearing a custom-made protective mask. Some may have forgotten, but it was at PSV Eindhoven that Memphis Depay began to make an impression on Europe's biggest clubs. In 2014, Dutch footballer Memphis Depay had to wear a custom-made protective mask after being elbowed by a Vitesse player. The mask was designed to stay in place despite contact and sweat, secured with an elastic band. Despite this early setback, Depay went on to have a successful career that many players aspire to. However, not all masks worn in football are for safety purposes. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang famously wore a Black Panther mask to celebrate one of his goals. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang once wore a Black Panther mask to honor his African roots, similar to Raul Jimenez's tribute to WWE star Sin Cara with a wrestling mask. However, Aubameyang also endured a traumatic experience when he suffered a broken jaw after being attacked during a robbery at his home. A group of 4 men assaulted him with firearms and iron bars in front of his wife and children, having staked out his property while he was away on a pre-season tour with Barcelona. On the other hand, Harry Kane could have picked a better time to break his nose. But unfortunately, he did it just before Tottenham's North London derby clash with Arsenal in early 2016. And it was absolutely no surprise when Gunners fans mocked him for the new piece of his kit, which he whipped off in celebration after giving Spurs a second-half lead at White Hart Lane. Back in 2022, Son Heung-min got a fractured eye socket after colliding with Marseille defender Chancel Mbembe in a Champions League game. After suffering an injury that required immediate medical attention and surgery, Son Heung-min wore a protective mask during his recovery. Despite the setback, he returned to play and was selected for South Korea's World Cup squad, where he continued to lead the team as captain, with the mask allowing him to compete safely. Another masked man from the 2022 World Cup, Croatia's Josko Vadil, had to sport the mask due to an injury he sustained while playing for Leipzig before the start of the World Cup. He collided with his then defensive teammate Vili Orban, but it didn't affect Vadil's performances at the tournament, where he starred in his country's run to the semi-finals. Sergio Ramos has also worn a protective mask to shield his broken nose during a match. Usually, players have to wear it for a few games, but Ramos, being Ramos, decided to ditch the mask. The Spaniard said that he could play with a little more comfort after not wearing the damn thing, although it was a highly risky move. Ilkay Gundogan has also sported a protective mask in games for a short while in 2018. The reason behind it was surgery. He underwent a procedure to fix a deviated septum, which aimed to improve his breathing. The mask served as protection for his nose while it healed after the surgery. He wore it during pre-season training, and even the first few games of the Premier League season that year. Petr Cech is perhaps the most iconic player to have worn protective gear. In 2006, goalkeeper Petr Cech began wearing a protective helmet after suffering a potentially fatal head injury caused by a knee blow from Reading's Stephen Hunt. 5 years later, while playing for Chelsea against Blackburn Rovers, Cech broke his nose, requiring him to wear 2 protective masks to continue playing. Talking of Chelsea, in 2007, during a Premier League match between Chelsea and Fulham, known as the West London Derby, John Terry suffered a severe blow from Fulham's Clint Dempsey just 3 minutes into the game. Despite suffering a fractured cheekbone, John Terry played on until halftime before seeking medical attention. He later wore a transparent protective mask for future games, which enhanced his fierce, warrior-like presence on the field. In 2003, AC Milan legend Paolo Maldini fractured his nasal septum during an aerial duel with Inter's Christian Vieri in the Milan derby. The injury sidelined him for several weeks, but he returned wearing a transparent protective mask in the Champions League quarter-final against Ajax. His masked comeback was captured by cameras during the match. In 2011, nearing retirement, Michael Ballack was playing for Bayer Leverkusen when he broke his nose during a Bundesliga match against Freiburg. The injury didn't stop him from returning to the pitch the next week. Wearing a charcoal black mask that matched his shirt, Ballack resumed playing with a fierce and imposing appearance, dominating the midfield as usual. In 1993, Paul Gascoigne wore a distinctive beige protective mask after fracturing his cheekbone from an elbow strike by Dutch captain Jan Wouters during a World Cup qualifying match. The mask, which he wore for the rest of the season while playing for Lazio in England, had a striking appearance, making him look like a villain from a 1990s crime thriller or science fiction film. There are many other players like Fernando Torres, Cesc Fabregas, Tony Rudiger, Thomas Meunier, Thiago Silva, Nemanja Matic, Alireza Bayranvand, Elias Skiri, who have also worn a mask in the past. Maybe I will make a part 2 if this video does well. To get more cool football videos like this, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Catch you next time. Thanks for watching.